Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today I'm very excited to be joined by Allison Kero, founder of From Clutter to Confidence. Allison works with women to help them create environments that actually support their focus, productivity, and the business they're building, turning cluttered spaces into structured systems. Her work highlights something often overlooked, that your environment directly impacts how you think, work, and grow. Allison, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you, Olivia. I'm really pleased to be here.
I'm very pleased to have you here, and it's such a pleasure to be speaking with you. So thank you so much again for joining me. And I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So Allison, with all of my guests, I do actually like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started up From Clutter to Confidence. And then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Okay, so this has actually been a while, but I was working at Citigroup in international private banking. And I had been living in New York City and had been working in finance because it paid money. And I just wasn't feeling like I was getting ahead in a way that I wanted to. And I really didn't feel inspired by making wealthy people even wealthier, and wanted to go out on my own and see what I could do. And so I started my first company in 2004 called Gotham Concierge. And luckily, somebody approached me soon after I started it and said, "Have you ever heard of professional organizing? I really think it'd be a great addition to your company." And I looked into it. I became a member of NAPO and really started to enjoy it and felt like it was really fulfilling and I could help a lot of people. And then also realized I don't love the concierge part of it. I don't like running errands for myself. Why I thought I'd be happy doing it for other people is beyond me. And so I owned that company for about 6 years and then let it go, moved out of the city, actually opened up a pet care company for about a year, moved back to the city and just reopened the company under a different name and just for organizing, and picked up an old client that I had before and then continued doing the organizing in various different ways. And then I moved to Connecticut, but it was close enough to New York. So still had some old clients, had some new clients, and then moved to Delaware, where I was really just focusing on seniors who were downsizing and moving into independent and assisted living, and was doing pretty well there. But then COVID happened. And of course, there goes my target market. And so I moved to South Carolina and was trying to do it here. And for some reason, nothing was working. And I was trying to take care of my mom, and her health was going down. My health was going down. And I realized I was just burnt out and I needed a break. And so I went into travel for about 18 months and I loved travel. But the company I was working for it just reminded me I don't like working for others.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what I would call the healthiest of environments. And I was really unhappy. And about a year ago, I got sick again. I have a chronic illness and it got re-triggered and I had to stop working. And I thought, I'm going to take this moment to rechange my life and feel like I'm in control of it. And in, I think, July, I decided that I was going to restart an organizing business because I did miss it. But I was going to create it in a way where instead of being the old people pleaser, that I was going to set it up in a way where I was going to arm these people with skills that they could use forever. And I was going to stop going to people's homes and businesses because I often found they were checking out mentally, sometimes physically, like walking out on me. And I'm like, I need your input. I can't do this without you. And I wanted to put them back in control by coaching them, because I think you are learning so much more than just how to be organized. You're learning how to create systems. You're learning how to be aware of when a system doesn't work and how to tweak it so it does work for you. You're learning how to become aware of who am I? What do I want? Where am I going? What am I surrounding myself with? Are they supporting me or not? And you're learning how to trust your intuition. Once you've cleared out the clutter, you might be able to hear yourself think, and you're also setting healthy boundaries for yourself, which all helps you to start making healthy, smart, confident decisions for yourself and things open up for you instead of feeling like nothing is ever working because you're opening up space for your life.
Love that. Firstly, thank you so much for sharing that journey, Alison. There's a lot of twists and turns,
Yeah.
and a lot of topics I want to like touch on because there were so many points I was like, yeah, I completely get you. But I feel like, and even going back to before we even started recording, like I think one of the first things you said was like, you guys are very organized in your steps. It's like there was a lot of follow-up sequences. Anyone that's been on the podcast will understand. And it's for me, organization. You sound like a very organized person. I can see the detail that you put into everything. And for me, organization is such a key thing for any aspect of life. I think a lot of us can very much resonate with the sense of when you're saying like a cluttered space is a cluttered mind. If you have things everywhere, how do you know how you're going to think? How are you having that thought process moving forward? It's the same thing in your mind, in your body, in the habits that you have outside of that as well. Would you always consider yourself as that type of person that was very organized and very much could lean into this space, or did that just naturally happen to you as you obviously discovered and went through your journey? You didn't really fit into other aspects of businesses.
Yeah, no. When I was a kid, I had a very messy room. It was super messy up until through college. So my freshman year in college, I had it was bunk beds. I'm on the top bunk, and I had so many pieces of clothing on that bunk bed that people would come into the room. I'd be taking a nap, and they'd have no idea I was in the room.
Awesome.
My senior year in college, I had an apartment with a friend of mine. We each had our own room. I had a walk-in closet which I almost never used. And I had a trail of clothing, and there was just like a path from like my bed into the bathroom. And then for some reason, once I graduated, I became a lot neater. And then as I got into organizing, I'm someone who likes to practice what they preach. I was like, oh, this is life changing. This makes
Yeah.
my life easier. I don't want to make my life harder. This makes everything so much easier. And then I realized you can use this not only to clear out physical clutter, but to use in every aspect of your life. And it's such a powerful tool that I really wanted to go around and start teaching it to other people so that they too could be empowered to clear out the emotional, the mental, the physical clutter in their lives in however, whatever it is that's coming up for them.
I love it. Beautiful. And I also like going back to what you said before as well, how you pivoted a little bit to actually teaching a man how to fish. So actually
Yeah.
like giving them the framework where they can apply that to any aspect of their life. They can do that when you need to. And you're not actually just doing the work for them because
Right.
that sometimes is half of it. I myself have ADHD and I know how important it is to declutter everything because otherwise I would just be stagnant in my room all day because the noise would just, or the noise and the mess would literally just put me into a comac steak and I wouldn't get out of bed. So it's the same aspect. It can bring so much clarity to your mindset and everything moving forward. So let's dive into from clutter to confidence a little bit more, just so the listeners can have some context moving forward. So, Alison, at this point into your journey, who would you say is your ideal client? Who is it that you very much love to work with the most? And then from there, how is it you help them and how do you support them?
Okay. I mostly work with female entrepreneurs who have a home-based business. I want to work with them, A, because all of my businesses have been home-based. And I feel like a lot of times they're working out of a guest room, they're working out of their own bedroom, they're working out of the kitchen. And yeah, okay, in some cases it's a lot easier to be able to get housework done, but it's also taking away from your focus. And I feel like a lot of women, especially, are waking up and they're walking into their closet and they're like, I don't know what I want to wear today. I'm already exhausted because I've got a closet full of stuff, none of which I like. And I already have decision fatigue and I haven't even started my
Yeah.
workday. And I want you to wake up, feel empowered because you are surrounded by clothing that fits, that you like, that look good on you. And you have an easy decision to make. And then you've created systems so that you are not dealing with decision fatigue. You are figuring out what is a priority. You are setting up systems so that you can get your home life and your work life done. And you are increasing your productivity so that when you do have to make those hard decisions, you've got the time and the energy to be able to do it. You're not overwhelmed with
Yeah.
literally everything. Like your stuff is talking to you. And if you've got stuff that makes you feel guilty, how do you make a good decision when you've got stuff that makes you feel guilty or it is coming from a place of lack or a place of fear? It's all
Yeah.
talking to you, even if it's in a closet with the door shut. I want you to free yourself of that stuff, create space, and empower yourself.
I love that. That is such a cool aspect. And obviously now that you made the pivot, like what is it like to work with you, Alison? So in terms of what is your style or your approach when you are decluttering people's lives for them?
Well, number one, no, there isn't one particular way that I work because
Cool.
you're all different people. You're coming, I have a system, but I'm basing it on who you are, how you think, how you live. Everybody has different ways that are going to work for them. I
Love
want
it.
to create systems that work for you so that you can be successful. Some people are going to have more time and energy where they're like, you know what, I can do an hour of decluttering and I'm totally fine. Other people would be so overwhelming. So I'm
Yeah.
going to start you out with, why don't you just start with 5 minutes or 10 minutes and then celebrate that win, because those small wins start building up so that you have a series of successes. But I don't want you to think, oh, I only did 5 minutes. I want you to go, I did 5 minutes. I just started this. It's if you're beginning to run a marathon and you're someone who's a runner anyway, you're going to be partway there. But you probably aren't going to be like, oh, I can run 26.2 miles, even though you can do 10 miles. You still have to do some work. But if you're someone who has not jogged ever, you're going to have to start a little bit slower. Maybe it's starting off with a half a mile. So it's working with people, meeting them where they're at and finding out, creating systems for them so that they are
Beautiful.
successful, whether they live by themselves, if they're part of a couple, or they've got a whole family that they're dealing with.
Beautiful. I love it. So you are very much, as you say, bending it around them, getting into the trenches with them and just very much customizing it to their approach, their life, and how you can best benefit them. I love the analogy as well, because as you say, and even with the small wins, like when you are starting out running, you should celebrate when you've hit your first 10 miles. It's not an easy achievement. A lot of people can do it. And it is
Yeah.
those small little wins that will keep you moving and keep your mindset just knowing that's the right path to take, because you obviously approach Everest. You don't want to be looking up the whole mountain and being like, I'm gonna climb that. Are you mad?
Yeah,
Yeah. It is
exactly.
those
That'll
like
stop you in
step
your
by
tracks.
step, exactly
Yeah.
that. Now, one thing I'm very curious to find out, because naturally it's a very busy and noisy world at the moment. So, like, how do you go about acquiring your customers? So, like, in terms of channels or methods, like, what are you finding most effective at the moment, Alison, in just finding those right people to work with?
So I approach it three different ways because I'm on a budget. I do social media, and then I belong to a group called Entreprenista, but I also have other networking groups that I belong to, and I network. I try to do maybe once or twice a week, and then also do follow-ups of one-on-ones and meet as many people as possible, because you've got to get yourself out there and you have to start talking to people and telling people about you. And maybe they're not the right fit, but maybe they know someone who's a good
Yeah.
fit for you. And then the other thing is going on podcasts like yours, because when you go on a podcast, it's not just a one and done. I don't just put it on my social media. I put it on my website, I put it on my blog, I put it on my newsletter, and then I try to take 7 clips from that podcast and use it for different social media marketing purposes so that I have an endless stream of things to post and I don't have to sit there and recreate something new every single solitary day. And that way, you get more airtime, I get more airtime, and it also helps people hear me talking so that they get a better understanding of who I am and how I can help them.
Yeah, beautiful. And as you say, when you are working within a budget, as you said, it's nice to express those, lean into your connections, lean into social media however way you can. Like you never know who is going to be that right person. So you just networking is a great aspect to do so. What I
Yeah.
love most about a podcast is pretty much as exactly what you just said. Not only are you filming constantly, so if you are attending someone else's or even your own, you've always got content to use. But you get a lot of like long form media is definitely having its moment because of the trust recession everyone's in, and you build such a great level of trust just listening to somebody's voice,
Yeah.
especially if it's over like an extended amount of time. They hear your vibrations, they hear what it's like to work with you, they know the authenticness that you can provide to them, and then obviously the service that you're doing. So it's just a really nice approach to it moving forward.
Yeah.
And I take it with your outputs on social media, it's very organic, or do you run any form of paid ads from time to time, maybe just to help with the consistency?
No, I haven't been doing that. I post every day except for I usually take one day off just so I can have that like mental health. I don't have to keep thinking of what I want to post or even just doing the posting, but I try to post about 6 days a week.
Beautiful stuff. And then from there, just obviously taking it. And I take it you're still pretty much a solopreneur, covering all those hats yourself and very, very much prioritizing your time when you need to.
Yes. Yep.
Lovely stuff. How are
Yeah,
you
in the
coping with that?
future,
Coping with...
I because I have a chronic illness, my energy is not
Yeah.
the same as the typical person, and that's why I love creating systems so that I can make sure that I can show up for myself and I can show up for other people
Yeah.
and also have feel like I can go out and do things that are enjoyable for me and not be so exhausted because I have done it before where I felt like I was just going and going until I was so exhausted I didn't want to do it anymore. I don't want to
Yeah.
do it that way anymore. I want to be excited for years to come to keep showing up for myself and other people. So as I set up systems based on, what I'm seeing, it's awareness. What am I seeing? Who is showing up? How do I feel? And when are my best energy times? And what can I handle? And that way I can show up for myself.
Yeah, I love it. And for me, because the way you were describing it as well, I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe like you have to intertwine the two, and that's exactly where you put it. Is taking the time where you need to, but prioritizing what you can at your business, having time for yourself, and just making sure your cup's full so you can provide that service to your clients as well and enjoy the life you have. It's a really
Yeah.
cool aspect. And I suppose with all that being said, Alison, like what are your visions or your ambitions for the company moving forward? When you maybe think of the next 6 to 12 months, what are those goals or those milestones you're hopefully looking forward to achieving?
I really would love to get into public speaking because I think that there's a big, massive audience that really needs to hear this. And I have a book in me. I'm not quite there yet where I'm ready to start writing it, but I think within 6 months, it'll be time for me to start writing it. So those are the two things that I have on my plate that I'm really looking forward to. And I'm just taking the steps to get there and learn, okay, to be able to get there, what are the next steps that I need to take?
Yeah, I love that. So we need to pull the book out of you and then get you on more stages to obviously spread the word and take it from there. Cool
Yeah.
stuff. I love that. And where are you probably finding the biggest aspect, the biggest challenge in achieving that goal, or even within the current business?
I think honestly, it's the mental clutter. I've had a lot of trauma in my life. I've had a lot of things that I wasn't expecting to have happen to me. And that's why I'm right now working with two different coaches because I need somebody to hold me accountable and I need people to show me if I'm not seeing something that's in my way to help me see that and to help me work through that because I tried to do it on my own in the past and it was really hard because say you have a bad day or something, you need a support system who can really make you see what you're actually looking at and not just rely on your emotions. Because if you have somebody who's taking you through it and is even keeled about it, you're like, oh, it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. And maybe there's some advantage to it. Maybe I can learn from this. Maybe I can grow from this. Maybe it's just I need to walk away from this situation. And so that has really been helping me to keep continuing moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. It goes back to what you're saying before about obviously with the organization putting boundaries up for yourself, making sure you're prioritizing your own time, and then obviously dealing with that mental fatigue as well. It is every
Yep.
decision you make, everything you do in your life is taking up more energy. So how can we help that moving forward? And
Right.
Alison, one final question for you. If you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
That is a really good question. I would want myself to show up for myself more and to stick up for myself more. I think I didn't do that when I was younger, and I think allowed a lot of people to push me over and take me out of who I truly was, and it took me a long time to get back on my path.
Yeah, I love that. Be your biggest fan always.
Yes.
You put that in a really beautiful way. And Alison, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to?
I would say go to my website from cluttertoconfidence.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. When you do that, I have a free video on how to declutter the guilt in your home. It'll show any events that I'm hosting, and it also talks about the three different types of offerings that I have in order to work with me. So that's a really great way to get in touch with me. And I think all of my social media is on there as well. So if you wanted to connect that way, you can too.
Beautiful stuff. And Alison, thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate your time today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to go and check out Alison. As she said, check out the website from cluttertoconfidence.com. And from there, you can get to the socials, drop her a message, check out the offerings. I'm sure she would love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders via wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from zero to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we will see you on the next one.